Welcome back to the Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me is my cheeky co-host, Simon.
Cheeky monkey.
Gracing my presence once again.
I tell you, I mean, you know, we're getting close to being tied at the hip here at the moment, Billy. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I think there's a lot of wives probably wishing we were at the house more often, taking care of stuff around the house. I think Chris Montgomery.
It puts me under unnecessary pressure, Billy, is what I'm telling you.
Yeah. But, you know, it's got to be done. The hard work. I mean, this is like I tell Tara, this is a job right here, and we have to take it very seriously.
It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
Exactly.
Hang on, let me take a sip.
Just, it would be rude not to.
Mm-hmm. There we go. That's better.
Sipping on a little German something or other tonight. I wish I could pronounce it. Hofbräu, Hefeweizen. There we go.
That will be your form of cultural appropriation.
It will be by completely butchering the name. That is disrespectful to the Germans.
The Germans. Oh, don't get me going on that, for goodness sake. I know I'll get in trouble with everyone.
Who's you gonna go and protect you from, Tommy? The Germans?
That's it. There's so many good sketches about that as well. There's some great comedy around that whole dynamic. And I actually brought that dynamic into the farmyard, funnily enough, because we had some English chickens. And they were I'm trying to think what breed they were an Orpington of some description. And then we had our Bielefelders, which are a German chicken, clearly. And they were uber egg layers, magnificent looking bird. And then we had our French copper marans, very highly strung, laid a beautiful egg, gourmet egg. But when none of the English didn't get on with the Germans, the English clearly never got on with the French. The French never got on with the Germans, and the Germans just pissed everybody off. So there was just countless punchlines about my various breeds of chicken. And they were storming the trenches and all that kind of shit. So it was, I mean, I had a lot of, there was a lot of humor behind, the flocks of chickens that we have. We still have some of them. No, we don't have any Germans now.
Oh, well, naturally.
Well, personally, I would like to have evicted the French, but that's just a personal matter.
Well, what prevented you from doing that?
Their egg, the copper maran egg, is the gourmet egg. It's the gourmet egg of all gourmet eggs. So all the pastry chefs, if they're looking for a particular egg, they want French copper marans. And they are noticeably different. Richer, deeper orange. They really are significantly different and really quite delicious.
Most people wouldn't probably think of that.
Well, no, it was odd. I mean, it's kind of a chicken nerd thing.
Yeah. Well, or foodie, a real foodie.
A foodie. And actually, I probably would consider myself a foodie. Yeah. Yeah. The finer things in life are to be enjoyed and celebrated. So I'm all into that. Fast food, no thanks. Yeah. I don't do fast food. Yeah. It's not good for you. We should be celebrating food. And not woofing it down to get the table replaced and mopped with some greasy, nasty bleach rag for the next poor next victim to do exactly the same thing. Wolf it down, get indigestion, full of nastiness. And no, not for me, thanks.
Yeah, I'm one of those types. That, you know, I couldn't care less if another fast food joint came around here. I mean, I don't think it's you know, necessary, really, man. I mean, Chick-fil-A, it's all, now give me a Five Guys. I will take a Five Guys. But other than that, that's my one vice. And that stuff's like never frozen. They use pretty good ingredients and stuff. It's not good for you.
No,
like,
not
healthily wise,
exactly.
But it's not bad ingredients.
If you eat it every day, it's not good for you.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean,
so it's always
if moderation. I eat it just once in a while, it's not good.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's in everything in moderation, but all these fast food chains really are producing, an over-salted, mass-produced product that has too many chemicals in it. And that's the end of it, you know?
And that's what's so hard, and we've seen this here in the last couple of weeks with our recent episode. If you haven't listened to that, go check it out. I urge you. It's called the $5 million gamble. We're talking about things like that, and a few of the people that disagreed with us, which, a lot that we saw on our end, had the same questions we did. But, a lot of people, we need a Chick-fil-A to come in here. Look, if it's going to come on its own volition, I don't want it to come, but I say let the free market reign. So I'm still one of those people who, although I don't want them here, I prefer them not to be here. I'm not going to encourage them to be here. But if they do show up, it's because they spent the money to do it, and they wanted to do it.
Well, they've got the demographics and their studies behind it that support that. But then in the same flip argument to all of that, is Walgreens came here. They put up a brand new building, custom building. All right, it's not particularly one of the most architectural pleasing things to look at, but nonetheless, they would have done that on the basis of statistical information. And what's it doing now? It's sat vacant. Mainly because there's at least 2 CVS's in Rocky Mount. There's a pharmacy in Walmart. There's a pharmacy in Kroger. And there's a pharmacy in Food Line.
I don't know if Food Line's got one, but I do think there is another.
Well, there's one up there somewhere.
There is a local pharmacy, I do believe, here on 40 West side of town, if it's still in operation, maybe the Franklin.
I think there used to be.
There used to be. I don't think
there used to be a few, anymore. But I think.
But anyway, so, even those demographics, that place didn't last, 2 years? And I know that everyone's going to blame COVID. Guess what? People were using a lot more medicine during COVID because they needed the happy pills. So, let's not use that as an excuse. The demand was there, but not for this amount of pharmacies. So now that we put stinking Starbucks down the road, I'm still convinced they're going to go and dump a Dunkin' Donuts up there where the concrete plant used to be. It's just complete lunacy, but let them get on with it. Ain't my money. I won't go there. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't really want to spend a great deal of time talking about that last show or anything, but the reactions were comical from some of the people. And, it's the only thing I want to say, because we'll do it again. We have Chris back on here. We'll go back through and maybe dissect a little bit more, because I feel like he should be here.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the only thing that we can wrap that little segment up with is it's rather intriguing that the EDA meeting was cancelled this evening.
Yeah.
And I wonder by whom and for what purpose and what reason. And that may be a question for another day.
That was going to be part of our show tonight. We were going to go to the EDA and kind of see what they had to say and try and update everybody on it. And we saw that it was abruptly canceled.
What a shit show.
And the only thing I'll say on it is it's funny. It's funny seeing, a big chunk of people that were upset with us 6 months ago are happy with us now, and people that are happy with us 6 months ago are upset with us now, and it's on the same exact they're parallels right here. It's like, we don't want wasted money on a music venue. We don't wasted money. We're being consistent, but yet people are still griping with us for, like, can they not see what
this is the same argument?
Can they not see, like, why do you think one is better than the other? It should be better. Look, it's not up to them. And like I said, anyway, we'll tie back around to that show at a later date, because I don't want to waste my time out on this episode. And we got some fun ones coming up here in the future and stuff. But real quick, big shout out to Brian at Burger Company down there, Rocky Mount Burger Company. Go down there and check them out anytime you get a chance. Food's always really, really good. Always working with us. I think we're going to try and do a show down there this Sunday afternoon. We'll go down there, maybe drink a couple and eat. And it's going to be a 20th anniversary of, like, almost to the day we shipped off to Iraq. So we got a couple new guys coming in that Simon's never met before. I'm hoping, but that's always kind of, but yeah, we're just going to, kind of talk about the times leading up to it. Some of the pranks that were pulled a few days before we took off. 'Cause I think it was April 4th, 2003 that we flew out of, Virginia Beach, towards, Europe and then eventually Kuwait. But, so 3 days before we were it was April Fool's Day. So a lot of,
how appropriate,
a lot of pregnancy jokes and pranks and, multiple other, anyway. So, I mean, the Mo process was a whole different beast as well. I mean, you're talking about. So hopefully we'll get into some of those stories that aren't necessarily from Iraq, but more of the
build up,
and all that kind of stuff. Because
exciting.
I've said it before. I'm pretty sure after they let us mob out of Virginia Beach, which is just a metropolis of dirtiness and rawness and military off-post fun of strip bars and bars and after that they started sending everybody to the middle of nowhere like freaking Indiana, like there's nothing else
Camp
around.
Atterbury?
Yeah,
that was my favorite place
because we embarrassed I guess we embarrassed the Army to our shenanigans.
I mean, it's no different than letting a load of oil field workers off the boat all in one bash, and they've been at sea for a couple of months. I mean, mayhem ensues. You can't help it.
Yeah, but who are you going to trust in a pinch?
Definitely not oil field workers.
Well, I mean,
they'll probably sneak through it. Call out.
Yeah, definitely.
They've got unions on their.
No. Their behaviour is appalling. They're complete savages. I include myself in that statement. Obviously,
at least you're being honest.
Oh, I am one.
Anyway. So that show's coming up here. That'll be a good time. Hopefully we'll get to talk about some cool stuff like that. I real quick wanted to just give an update on what's going on at 5 Points Music Sanctuary, because we all know that's one of the places Simon and I, really emphasize people going and spending their money at.
Just the local live venue. I think you're going to struggle to beat it anywhere really on the eastern seaboard. It's phenomenal.
And they cater to absolutely everybody. When they say that, that's not just like it's just not a slogan that they're using just to throw up there to gain, social credit score points. Like they really do. Like they have the, for the hearing impaired, they have the jacket where they can go up there and they can feel the vibrations of the music and really feel what's going on. And tying them to a lot of stuff for like PTSD and, things like that for veterans and music therapy, for kids are doing that. I mean, it's just a whole good deal of this. We always like trying to tell everybody what they got coming up. And I know this Saturday it's going to be Sky Dog, a tribute to the Allman Brothers Band. So
yeah, I saw that. That sounded interesting.
Looks like a pretty good time. Thursday, April 6th, Wolf featuring Scott Metzger. I don't know what that's all about. I'm going to give that one a look. Friday, April 7th, the Tree of Forgiveness Band, John Prine tribute. There you go, Simon. That's your neck of the woods. Saturday, April 8th, Felix Queen Pen Family Wellness Fundraiser. Go ahead and get some more information about that because I haven't really looked it up yet. Don't know what it's about, but hopefully it's a good cause and go throw a couple dollars.
I mean, if Tyler's behind it, it's going to be a good cause. I don't think that's ever going to be in question.
Nope. Friday, April 14th, the Wilson Springs Hotel with the floorboards and just a couple other ones of note coming up. Saturday, May 13th. Colby Helms and the Creepers are going to be playing one of their outdoor shows. I think that might be a good chance for us to get out there and go check out Colby and go check out one of Tyler's outdoor things because it's pretty cool. We've been there last year. They got a bunch of food trucks and vendors set up, CBD and Happy Pill trucks set up. So, you go in there, you get some food, you get to hear some good music. It's outdoors. You get to breathe. It's cool. So we ought to make plans to show up at that one. Everybody bring the families,
That'd be cool. Yeah, I like the sound of that. We've always got to give a shout out to Buddies as well. Buddies is great barbecue.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys know where they got the name of that band, Sky Dog?
No.
It was Dwayne Allman's nickname.
Huh.
The Sky Dog.
That is how to do it. Perfect.
That was his nickname.
That makes sense. Okay.
A lot of people don't know that. I'm a music nerd, so.
Oh, right. There we go.
Well,
I mean, that's good information, right? It makes perfect sense.
I think you and Simon might be like alter universe versions of each other because you're both like people from the water and the music and in the fishing and so anyway, we're going to try. I guess it's James Beheler. James, he's been kind of chipping in here a little bit as we got our intro out of the way. He's our combat veteran and I've known him for a long time, although I haven't really been tight with him. I've met him a few times over the years, like at different events and stuff. I remember up to Moose Lodge one night. I talked to you there for a minute. That was probably not long after either you'd signed up or you'd come home because it wasn't long after I'd came home. So, for one, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your service. I know that I always got to be argumentative when it comes to that. And I always like to say it, but it's one of those things I'm like, I don't care if you say it to me or not. I just,
It's if it's meant with sincerity. That's
I
good.
always do. I always say it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. I'll still say it to anybody.
And I also say you and your family, because you're. I mean, when we were over there, our families were definitely serving too. So deployment's not easy for anybody. So
no, fortunately for me at the time, I was wise enough to say I'll never take a girlfriend to war with me. It just ain't worth it. So I didn't do any. So I always had my dating past was very flimsy. Like Tara really took a roll of dice with me because I didn't really have much of a.
Well, you're such a handsome brute of a man there,
Well,
Billy.
when I was in high school, I was just like, I don't really want to date. I mean, I'm in high school. I'd rather do other things, and then so I get to college. I'm like, well, hell, now I'm in college. I'm away from home. I definitely don't want to date anything now. And then I go off to the military and go overseas. I'm like, well, I don't want to date anybody now. And then when I come home, I'm like, well, I'm home and free now. I don't want to date anybody now. And I kept finding the excuses until Tara came along, and I guess I was finally like, all right. This one right here is
this one's a keeper.
She's gonna show, but I didn't think it was necessary. I mean, why have one girl sit in your panties and you can have 20?
You're so good at getting this shit.
I drop these little nuggets just to see if she's listening.
I'm not quite sure where to go with that.
I'm just wondering where to go with the 20 girls that'll send you panties.
I was exaggerating quite a bit. Let's just knock that number probably down to 3 or 4.
I mean, okay.
Billy.
And
that's probably why that you got so many, because you didn't want to date them.
You know what?
From what
I have suspicions that some of that was in a few care packages that I never ended up getting. So either some little weirdo working in the mailroom of a military base, or some insurgent out there, either one is sniffing their panties or did 20 years ago.
No.
And I'm not saying they were
There
even
goes the
worn or
family
dirty.
show.
I don't know. I'm just...
What, you never had the hookah night?
So we...
Not that I know what that is, but...
Yeah, no. I'm keeping the focus on Billy right now.
Look, back then, when did you serve? When was your time in?
I went in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right at the beginning of 2009. So, and then, for about a year and a half, I did, training, and then I got shipped right over.
And you were in the Navy.
That's right.
So that's how you and Simon get along. You like the water.
Oh, no, I never really actually saw the water too much. Not unless, I did get some TAD orders to the Truxton.
Well, I should take that back here, because Simon was asking me earlier, if you saw the, and I said, man, a lot of times now in the Navy, they're on land. You know what I mean? And I said, I thought you were one of the ones who was on land.
Yeah, I got AI'd. I sure did. I got individual augmentee orders. They were orders that came down, and they came down into where I was, and there was I really didn't realize it at the time, but there were, like, I guess in the Army you'd call it like division orders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like somebody in, or company order, something like that. It was a pretty big group of people. I mean, I'd say 200 sailors, and that were working in that division of the area I was, and I was the one who got picked to go. And they said, you come in my office, and I sat down. I thought I was, had done something wrong on the floor or something like that, but no, we got we got some orders, and you're going.
Oh, it was that brutal. And there was no bollocking.
No, it wasn't brutal. It wasn't brutal.
So that was it.
No.
What was your MOS?
I was a corpsman.
Okay. Navy Corpsmen.
That's right.
That's one of
best of best.
That's why you were on the ground a bunch then. Okay.
That's right.
Okay, because Navy Corpsmen is like they go out with the Marines in the field.
Right.
Yeah.
There's two kinds.
I've worked with Navy Corpsmen actually offshore.
Yeah.
And a very gifted man.
That's it. You either have, we can use colorful words here.
It's never stopped us.
They could be they could be dirty birds, and then there could be good, and then there's good ones, and there's great ones. There's no there's no in between.
Well, I know the Navy Corpsmen has probably got the best reputation among all.
They have the best training.
I will say the best training. They've probably got the best reputation as well among the medical professionals in the armed forces. So
absolutely,
power to you. I mean, that's huge.
The training's there. You know what I mean? How well you do with it, and how you.
Well, that's up to you.
It's up to you, right?
Yeah.
Well, not to mention if you're a Navy Corpsman, you're going out in the field with Marine infantry guys. Not only are you having to, and they protect the hell out of you because, for one. You probably got the highest IQ in the entire platoon. Number two, you're the one carrying the coloring books and the crayons for them too. So they don't really, they don't need you to go down. They make sure they will carry your ammo to make sure that those crayons are taken care of. Because you have to read them bedtime stories too, to get them down to sleep at night. So the job of the Navy Corpsman it's so much greater.
How are we going to get jarheads on this show after that?
We've had them on this show before. I've had a couple of them on here.
I don't think what they're going to do to you next time. Yeah, exactly. They play better in numbers, actually.
That's right.
Not with numbers, in numbers.
In numbers. Yes.
Oops. Now I'm going to be a target. Oh, well.
Well.
The Marines are the most fun to come across in a bar.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how you like it. If you like fighting, great. If you don't like fighting, great.
The Royal Marines are the same bunch of thugs. Yeah. They operate in that same envelope.
I think all military to some degree.
Well, I know the Royal Marines love fighting the Royal Navy, but as soon as any other unit comes in, next thing you know, the Navy and the Royal Marines are fighting as one. I mean, it's very much like that Afghan offline comment we had earlier.
Right, exactly.
They love fighting each other, but if you pick on one of them...
Watch out.
Well, yeah, here it comes.
Look behind you. Watch 6.
And y'all leave us over there, and the Air Force puts our arm around us and be like, get your arm around us. Y'all are on your own. Because they don't really actually... The Air Force is always so much fun overseas because you could always tell where their tents were lined up. Because, we were there in the very beginning and stuff. It was just, we were kind of out there rogue. But as the base behind us started building, they started forcing us to center post. We've talked about this on shows before. And you drive by and the Air Force encampment was because everything was to perfection. All the sandbags looked perfectly squared away. All the tents looked the best, and the air conditioning was in all the tents. And
best food.
And they had
ice cream.
And it was because they had locals come in and do it for them before.
Yeah.
We're out there digging shovels and putting our own sand in our own sandbags, and the Air Force pays some Iraqis a couple dollars to come do it ahead of time, and it just looks magnificent.
I believe it's called working smart, not working hard.
Smarter, not harder.
Way to go.
Should have joined the Air Force. I can't tell you how many times I said that.
And, some people don't like the uniform, but some people do.
Well, back to we were about getting me in trouble. I asked him what time he signed up and around the time period. I was a little bit ahead of that. For us, I was coming home from Iraq in 2004, and that's a time period where we were rock stars. I mean, because it was like the first internet war. Think about it like that. Like it's the first war that you could be kind of updated in real time. And even though you weren't supposed to be, even though they're like, oh, don't tell your family what you're doing. Of course you're telling some chicks back home what you're doing because it sounds hot. And when you get home, you know whose number you're going to start calling.
It's that base.
And that's just how it was. I mean, we got home that first, 4 or 5 months. Anywhere you go, if you happen to have your uniform on or even look like you had, the haircut or anything, man, people buy your steaks at bars, people buy your drinks. I mean, it was, I don't want to say it was a good time to be alive, but it just shows you how much this country appreciates the people willing to do stuff like it, even though,
As they should, I may add.
They should, and we should always support the people that are willing to step up and defend. What we were doing over there wasn't defending. What we've done, in a lot of places that hadn't been defended. So, once again, it goes back to, you can have one without the other. I can support the troops. I can support the guys willing to do it. I just don't support the decisions at the top. And I hate the fact that they go over there and, fight wars, well, what the hell did anybody in Iraq ever do to me?
Well, we still reflect back, and I reflect back on it fairly regularly with the 12 Marines that were killed in the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I thought that was an absolute disgrace, and no one has been held accountable for that. Whilst the Commander-in-Chief said he took full accountability, so I have no respect there whatsoever. If you're taking accountability and responsibility, what's the outcome? Because there were 12 dead Marines courtesy of that complete shit show. But I'm not going to get too ranty about that. It gets my blood pressure up, and I'll probably start saying things that really don't need to be said right now.
So you spent time in Afghanistan. See, now we've had a lot of talk about Iraq on the show, but Afghanistan, my brother was there and he talked a little bit about it on one of the shows, but we really hadn't dove into it much. And I think people need to understand that when you and this is kind of how we were talking earlier before the show about education and how it's just not there. Like all it is just, it's a mill. It's a factory to give you a piece of paper tin and pat you on the back and say, now go be a tax mule for us for the rest of your life.
Or teach you how to take a test.
Yeah. So when it comes to education, it's like
teaching you how to think and teaching you how to solve problems and your way of solving the problems, your way of learning. Like I struggled through school and I hated it because, there's a lot of people that go into education as a profession, but it's not. It's way more than a profession. You have to. It's not a profession. It's a way of life. I think because you deal with all kinds of different personalities, and it's very. My experience was it was very sterile. It was very one way. I learned a different way, and education, it turned me off for the longest time because of that. Why bother? Because I can't learn it. What they're teaching me.
Well, it's so bad, and because when you compare Iraq and Afghanistan, it's a big chunk of the country, even with the power in the palm of their hands, to even just do a minimal amount of research, just because that. The two countries have similar religions, and they're both Islam.
Islamic.
They're both Islamic, but Iraqi's got the Shia and the Sunni and the Kurds, and Afghanistan's has like the what tribes were those?
The Pashtuns.
Yes, the Pashtuns. And
they're up in the north part more so than they are in the south, and they are Pashtun and
I know it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't bloody remember it either. It's not coming out.
It's not coming out.
Well, as far as the middle,
I'm sure some fact checker out there will be able.
I'm sure someone will tell us.
Make a comment.
And then, of course, you've got all the Pakistani tribes on the other side of the border there.
Oh,
so the mix is.
And I was on the border actually.
Yeah, that was not a good place to be.
Well, if the Middle East were America, Baghdad would be something like. It'd be kind of like a St. Louis or a Detroit kind of town, and Afghanistan would be West Virginia. Mountainous, deep.
Yeah.
You ain't getting tanks up there. For soldiers out there, unlike Iraq, you're pretty close anywhere you're at to a big chunk of soldiers. Whether it be by ground or by vehicle or something like that, or even a quick chopper ride. In Afghanistan, a lot of those guys in those outposts were miles and miles and miles away from anything, and it was only 14 or 15 of them, 16.
Yep, and they're also probably sharing. A lot of times they're sharing a compound with the A&A.
Yeah,
and you don't even know.
Whoa, who knows? Roll the dice.
This is a new guy. Yeah.
Yep.
What's up, dude?
Not good.
Who are you?
The terrain is beautiful out there.
Oh, it was.
If you're just taking it in for
it was beautiful
for a scenic purpose, but it's crazy. They're in Afghanistan they are fierce fighters and they are fast and they know how to move those mountains. In Iraq,
I never imagined when
they are the mountain goats.
Faster.
Damn.
I saw a blind guy. There was a blind guy. And he was just like,
wow.
Like lightning, like you sprinting down a flat street. He's zigzagging up a
near a damn sheer face
cliff.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, and no empire, as we said earlier, has ever won a war in Afghanistan. Not one.
And they might be the most backwoods, country in the Middle East. And that's about the best way I can put it. I'm talking deliverance kind of stuff here in the States.
I think that's being very polite, actually.
Backwoods.
They're very rural.
Yes. I mean, there were instances when American soldiers showed up to the top of some mountains where the local population, some of the older men, thought that it was the Russians because he didn't know that the first war was even over.
Yep.
Nobody had reached them since then.
And they probably kept hearing the air traffic, and
they just thought it was still the Russians.
Yeah.
So when they showed up to them,
probably still trying to shoot them down with the same Stinger missiles that we gave the Mujahideen. Oh dear.
I mean,
we've armed the wrong
I was always
side
told
again.
that those were all accounted for.
Oh, yeah, right. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And that happens time and time and time and time again.
Well, look at the hardware we left there.
I think that gives us justification to go back in at some point in time, and it'll give them justification for in future wars that are unwinnable and unsustainable that we manage to still want to stick around for multiple decades. Now they'll just be able to say, well, look what happened when we finally pulled out of there. It was such a disaster. Now we should just justify staying in forever. And now we should never pull out because look what happens when you pull out. You know what I mean?
They go back to, not letting their girls go to school. They end up putting the burqa back on. Really? Was that predictable?
Well, they never took it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Never took it off.
And it's very complex.
Very complex.
And Afghanistan as well, because a lot of people also, not to get away from the fact that they would kind of misidentify Iraq and Afghanistan as kind of the same type, same fighters and this, but even in Afghanistan, you still have the Taliban and you still have Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was not Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda was just a terrorist organization operating within the borders of Afghanistan, and were essentially ran out of town probably the first 2 or 3 weeks of the war to never be heard from again in that country. But we still managed to somehow stick around for an extra 20 years for the Taliban. It really had nothing to do with it, and who we had worked with before in the past trying to get oil pipelines through there when deals fall through.
Mineral rights.
They were like a political party.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
they were a political party that
party.
was, that was
Sharia law.
fearsome, out in the public.
Vehemently supportive of Sharia law.
Vehemently. Like since that was the day it was written. Yeah. Very, very, very stern in their convictions.
And we don't really care about, the government really doesn't care about the people. They really don't. No. They care about getting control of the country. And, the Taliban persisted,
And there was a time you were talking about, going back to education. There was a time in the 60s and 70s where, it was flourishing.
And who's stepping in there now, though?
Kabul, was very relaxed, was very progressive. Women showed their hair.
Whoa. Wow.
A little bit of it. And then they still wore a headscarf. And it was still, but you could.
But it was a loosening of
they showed
that
their face.
strict.
Yeah,
right.
They definitely were free
and
to walk about.
Iran has that.
Yeah. And
now Iran has a similar lax or less strict policy with that in that regard.
I've never been there before. But I can say that a lot of the people that I know that have come to America from Iran, they want the people. They're not cool with what's really going on.
No,
they're not hip to it.
Well, I think the Iranian population is actually a lot more aligned with some Western policies and culture than our mainstream media will ever give them credit for.
I think the same goes for a lot of countries. I think the same goes for China. It goes for India. It goes for a lot of places. And then here we are in this country, and now we're trying to mainline Chinese,
Well, I'm not
tactics.
very PC when it comes to the Chinese because, that's been an economic war and it's been a long game.
But you're going back to education, and how in this country it's, not really valued anymore. you go to a place like that, and you really see how much. I mean, people die for it. Meanwhile, people here are just they skip school.
Yeah, I mean, and think about the Iranian technology in industries. The fact that they're now supplying the Russians with the drones in Ukraine tells you that this is not a backwoods Islamic country, not by any stretch.
Iran?
Yeah.
Oh, they're sophisticated as sophisticated could be.
Yeah, absolutely. Whilst the mainstream media would tie them as a bunch of date pickers who write, are maybe camel jockeys. You just don't know.
Well,
but that's the depiction, that people pick up. It's strange how that just is so twisted.
We're leading a camel around, with like a Casbah with the camel leading them around in the desert. Yeah, it's totally not like that.
No, absolutely not. No. I mean,
a lot of
they're quite cosmopolitan. In fact, very cosmopolitan.
Very much so.
Actually, if we look a bit at the Persian Empire, was probably one of the most sophisticated.
Land of milk and honey.
Absolutely. I mean, this is where education, writing, you name it, develops. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating that they get demonized because they don't align with Western politics and policies. I mean, and that's going to. Man, that's another can of worms.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the same atrocities that the Iranian government get accused of, and they get dragged through the mud in the media for, well, the same exact things are going on in Saudi. We just don't talk about them because Saudi is our ally. And I mean, and for that matter, the same crap happens in this country. And
can we put a very loose term on the word ally when it comes to Saudi Arabia?
Well, very loosely,
because how they control OPEC. And and once again we delve into international politics and the petrodollar and barrel production, restriction of production, controlling that price very politically, and the Saudis are extremely good at it, 10 times more so than we are. Yet we use the petrodollar, which is actually on a fade, and let's see where that goes. That's something to watch very closely, because we should all be very concerned about that.
And when we say that Iran is sophisticated, we're not in support of the Iranian government. I'm not in support of the Saudi government. I'm not in support of our government. I think that governments all over the world are pretty shitty, and I think for the most part, most of the citizens are all decent, good people who just want to go on about their lives. I think that's and I've
less
seen
government is better,
everywhere.
right?
Yeah. I mean, all waving the flags for the same.
I mean, freedoms. I tell people this all the time. Freedom's a very young. Individual freedom is a very young idea. It's very young, and it's very, very unique to America. The rest of the world really doesn't still. Individual freedoms do not exist. It's the greater good, right?
Yeah,
and it's a
and that's very much
slippery slope.
That's very much a socialistic, and note the fine differences of socialism and Marxism. There's the majority of Europe are based on pretty much now socialist principles.
From what I know, construed to be that way. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think where the US is going that we're probably not far from trying to align with that. And we're doing it kicking and screaming. I don't support that path.
We're already there. I mean, we end up paying about around 50% of all of our income to some sort of tax, one way, shape, or form. We're taxed from birth to death on everything you buy, everything you sell, everything. Yeah, I mean,
it's outright thievery.
You got free medical out there. You got the Social Security. So we're already in socialism. We're just not. We just still have guns, so it ain't full blown.
Well, there's certain social programs, I guess you would say, that they're set up to be, but they're they've like anything else, they've been corrupted. The people have taken advantage of it for their own good, and it's kind of gotten out of hand. Whereas on our own, people let it happen by their own. By being gullible, I think. It's being so gullible.
Well, it's
naive,
when you're dishing out free shit.
Well, yeah, but then eventually it gets to generational.
Yeah, and now you got a problem.
When I see, when I've seen my grandmother do the same thing, that's a way of life.
Yep.
And that's where it's dangerous.
Yeah, and
I'm all about helping your fellow man get up, and God knows I've got tons of people to thank for helping me throughout my life.
Yeah,
but then
the community spirit.
Yeah,
and I agree with that 100%. I mean, I think this is where this show inspired this stay local in Franklin County, with supporting producers and farmers and what have you, and trying to get people get that mindset where you're prepared to move away from the big box store and support a local community farm, whatever it may be. And this is something that is growing. I mean, you've seen the numbers on Nick and Mayor's page. It's absolutely phenomenal what's going on there. So people are getting on board. And to me, that's almost a rejection of socialism.
Absolutely.
And for me,
it never works out.
Man, that's really great. But socialism has never worked out.
Never. I mean, I just, it's, no matter how you write it, and I'm sorry if that's what you believe in, But you're not, no, it doesn't work.
You're still going to run out of somebody else's money, right?
It just can't sustain itself.
No, of course it can't. I mean, Winston, there's some Winston
Churchillisms. It can't do it. It's a law. It's a universal law that it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a scary concept, really, but we fall for it again and again.
It's usually it seems like to me, if anybody would be in line with that, is because they want to be the ones who are the haves.
I get that.
Not the have-nots.
Well, the haves convince the have-nots that, if you just give me the power over here,
I got you.
Then you can sit around and finger paint all day long and make $30,000 a year and have.
Right.
But no, in reality, when I'm in charge, you're going to be out there cutting rocks.
Well, you need to produce, and if you don't produce, then you fail to produce, then you're no good anymore. And thank you for your service, comrade.
Yeah,
comrade.
Yeah, we don't need you. You're not going to go out there and break rocks.
You have a consolation prize about 100 yards. Straight ahead of you, there's a little hole there. No, that's where your consolation prize is. So when you get up there, you just turn around and give a thumbs up, and let us know you saw it. Mm-hmm. And we're going to give it to you.
And I've always considered this now, and I wish somebody could explain to me how this couldn't work. Because I'll say with the technology we have today, you should be able to immediately with your verification from your phone, ID, something like that, right off the rip, decide we're going to have parallel economies in this country from here moving forward. On one economy, if you choose to do this, if you're the person who says taxes are or what we pay to live in a civilized society, then fine, you buy into that system and you have probably upwards of 60-70% of your income completely taken away, but you get all your roads paid for through the government. You get government health care. You get public transportation for free. Everything you could possibly want aside from your needs. Now, anybody else, if you ever want to use any of that public transportation, or if you want to use the highways, you got to pay tolls. You have to pay, but you don't get taxed. How many people do you think would go to which side, and which side would be standing in 3 years?
We all know the answer to that.
I would beg to say that probably 70 or 80% of the population would go for let me keep all my taxes, and those 20% who swear up and down that the socialism way would work will crumble and collapse within 2 years. Easy.
I agree with that.
Are they self-sustaining though? There's no import, export. Everything is like true. What it is. You have to produce inside,
Well, life goes on as it is. Like just all of a sudden, just tomorrow, you're either in one economy or the other. If you're in an economy that pays taxes, then you're going to continue to pay this over-bloated government. You're going to continue to live within your means, and you're probably not going to have any chance of advancement because it kills innovation. But if you're not paying taxes and you can spend your money on what you want to, invest it in what you want to, buy private insurance, buy private health care, if you want to use any of the public. Because, as it stands, the taxes, they don't make sense anyway, and they're all going to I don't have kids going to public school. I don't, and it's not just me. People without kids, they shouldn't be expected to pay for that.
I mean, this is really an ideology, and you can chase yourself around on this all day long. But I think, we need to be producers, and not be, where a population is 51% employed by some form of federal or state or county government. So as soon as that happens, the 49% that are actually producing something of value, rather than the administrators and the guys that are the tax collectors thieving from you. I mean, that whole balance, when that gets inverted, the economy's really about to tank. And it is what it is. We're stuck with it right now until it collapses.
Well, I mean, it's also opportunity. I mean, around here, I mean, you've got, it used to be that, if there were a lot, there were a lot more options for men and young men than there were for young women. Now, young women usually went went into being teachers or
and that's actually something interesting that you point out there, because I've always
was a teacher for 30 years in the public school system,
right?
So.
And I've always said, I've come from an English school system, where the majority of the majority of the teachers were men.
Mm-hmm. Schoolmaster.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
And they would flog you. Oh yeah. I got many a whack. And rightly so. I mean, everything was completely deserved. I didn't do anything, and I wasn't punished for anything that I didn't do.
The back of the head?
No, it was the best one was the ruler on the hand. The next most painful one was it was a plimsoll, a gym shoe. Mm-hmm. That was across the backside. And the worst one was a bamboo cane across the backside. And that was delivered by the headmaster.
Was it split bamboo?
It wasn't split bamboo. Oh. No, it was a bamboo cane. Okay. And you normally got six of the best.
Shellacked. Nice and hard. Oh,
yeah. I'll tell you that.
Nice and cured.
That one would burn. For a long time. And the only person that could administer six of the best with the cane was the headmaster. So when you were sent to the headmaster's office,
you went to old man.
You try and stuff newspapers down your pants or try and do anything. He always caught a winch. Remove the newspaper from the trousers. Oh yes, sir. Sorry, sir. He's seen it before. So yeah, you get your beating, and deservedly so. And whether it changed your outlook on life or made you behave, probably not. Did you hold a grudge? Absolutely not. You deserved it. Fair enough. Take your licks. And that's a learning curve in life itself. So, those are the differences, I think.
But you were saying about like opportunities, women, young women going into not having much opportunity, so they went into,
they went into teaching. They go into nursing. And the medical industry here is extremely strong, whether we like it or not. But you've been pigeonholed, so you're actually denying potential, and that to me is the greatest. It's a stifling of opportunity just because of your sex. But now there's so many. Who knows? Yeah, but I'm not going to open that can of worms. So many
opportunities, or
no? So many different sexes now.
Oh yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. How many are there? 82. Something stupid.
Lost count.
There's only one way I count. So. There's only one way I count. But I want to hear what happened. Any of your Afghanistan experiences, but really what happened when you came back.
As far as myself, how I saw the world.
I want to know more about James. I mean, you came back, you took a bit of a lick off the side of a mountain, from all accounts.
Yeah,
and that rattled your noggin somewhat.
It fried my noodle. Yeah. But everything's okay. Everything still works.
Now, were you supported well, do you think, during that recuperation and treatment and recovery?
I didn't really pay much attention.
Well, I mean, you may not have been there mentally.
No. I mean, I didn't pay much attention. I wanted to get back.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I had really good luck in the military by having, I mean, it should have been so quick to want to go back. Probably not, but I did. Right. So, You know, I wanted to get back to, didn't have time, you know. So, coming, you know, I don't know, because I was there for 12 straight months. You know, I was there for 15, and then about 2 months in, I had my, you know, if you're there, I think Iraq was the same thing. If you're there, if you have orders for over 9 months, you get 2 weeks of R&R. Like at some point in those 9 months, you get 2 weeks. Usually it's somewhere the middle or the back end, right? Well, not if you're the lowest ranking guy in the whole damn place.
That sucks.
I mean, I had just gotten into what they call the battle rhythm. You know, is getting, you know, you do consistency.
Yeah, you're tuned in.
You're tuned in. Yeah, pretty much. You're tuned in. You know, you listen. You know, you listen to your iPods in the morning. You're drinking your coffee. You're smoking your cigarettes. You're doing what, you know. You're doing your body good. If you know what I mean. I think you know what I mean. Before you go on the old patrol, you get cleaned out. You know, you make sure you're cleaned out there.
Oh yeah.
And any of my fellow brothers and sisters out there, they know what I'm talking about. But
don't be carrying that extra load.
Literally. Nobody likes that.
Nope.
You'll be everybody's least favorite really quick. So I came home for Christmas. I came back here, and I got stuck in Germany for like almost a week at what was the hub there?
Frankfurt?
No, Litzbig Airport. Yep, and like, believe it or not, they had this. You would fly in, and they had, like, I believe they had their own runway, and we were on Lufthansa Airlines, so I guess it was contracted.
Right. So it was charter.
It was charter, yeah. It was charter out of Kuwait City, I believe. Yeah, Kuwait City. Kuwait City went into Litzbig, right? And then they were going to change air crews. They could have flown all the way over from Kuwait, but
that's still a big jump from Kuwait to Leipzig, anyway.
It was.
Yeah. And the German airports, by the way, and I've been to several, they are the most organised, clean, functional airports that I've ever come across.
What little bit of contact I had with, because I mean, like I was saying, we came in and it was like our own runway, and then the terminal that you went into was like for American soldiers, and that's the only thing, and Marines and airmen, and, you know, American military personnel, because that's the only thing I saw.
Now I suspect that would have been the equivalent of the private part of any international or regional airport, where you have like an executive jet, but they had their own runway to keep everything separate on a military basis. So that was probably set up as a military support field,
right,
along with
because it was very transient,
equivalency. Yeah,
very transient. Like we landed in Litzbig, and we're only supposed to have like a 40. Like, they were going to change air crews and do the plane up once over, from what I remember correctly, and then they were going to change the air crew, and the air crew would come on, do their checks and balances, and then we would be on our way. Well, we did. You know, it was about an hour later, and like we're getting. I'll never forget it. It was really cold. It was raining. We're going down the runway, and I mean, you know, like it always does, you feel your kind of sinking in your seat a little bit. You know, you're getting airlift, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. It was about we were getting ready to lift right off. All of a sudden, everything, and then boom, like the nose slams down.
Air brakes on.
They hit the I guess the
running out of runway.
So they hit the engines in reverse, I guess. There's
reverse thrust
and bouncing, and I mean bouncing, like tail bouncing, bam, bam, bam. What is and I heard it sound like a big metal industrial fan and like a softball or something slamming through it. Like you could hear like wrenches getting thrown out. Yeah. So,
did they ever tell you what it was?
Something about maybe a wheel or something like that. It had gotten the brake had
it's frozen on the wheel.
Or something had happened like that. I don't know, but they turned right. They did it about face, goes right back. We get off, and they said take everything with you because we don't know how long. So basically, I was there.
Change your underwear.
I was a little off-putting, I was a little off-putting, but at that point, I was like, I pretty much was like, whatever at that point. Like, okay, well, so this is it. Pretty much. I mean,
made it through a war zone and now we're going to crash on a damn aircraft.
Right.
Very bloody much.
Right. And like I said, I'd just gotten into my battle rhythm. So, I'd just gotten I don't know if I'd gotten my kit right yet or not. I know I had all my medical shit I hadn't gotten done yet. I mean, it took a long time to figure all that out. And it never was quite right.
Well, it's always been mission specific anyway. Not so much maybe with the medical stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if I'm going into a hot area, I'm going to expect. I mean, I'm always going to expect, but I'm going to take extra tourniquets because the guys already have 3 or 4 on them at least. My guys had crazy amount of tourniquets everywhere.
I normally carry 3.
Yeah, I mean, or 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
More is better.
Well, more. I mean, I'd rather have too many than not enough. Especially when it comes to a tourniquet. I mean, and they're not. People have a bad impression. I don't know who started this medieval idea of a tourniquet. It's going to make your arm fall off if you put it on there because
it's going to save your life.
It's going to save your life. I mean, I'd rather my arm fall off. I mean, really. I mean, but if you think life sucks that bad,
they've actually had so many different theories. And now that we've got into
it, doesn't
so much history with extremities being hit because of body armor.
Right.
We've now got some real data on not just applying tourniquets. But then I know there was a phase where you would release a tourniquet after so long, and don't ever do that.
Ever.
Just don't do it.
Ever.
I mean, this is, but that was out there.
Oh,
because they were worried about loss of blood flow and the arm, you're going to have to amputate the arm and all that bullshit.
I'm no doctor, but it just seems to me that if you plug a water hose up, and you crimp it, and then
you uncrimp
it.
What do you think is going to happen?
What's going to happen there?
Mm-hmm. Same leak, same place.
Yeah. Oh, didn't fix that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's been a lot of data that have allowed that, and I think the use of tourniquets, even if I go out on a range, I always have
absolutely
at least one tourniquet with me.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's one in the car now. So, that is one piece of kit that is going to save your life without question.
Absolutely.
Without question. And if you can put it on yourself, great. I mean, some of them need some cranking if you're a big lad with big legs. You may need 2. But the tourniquet is a lifesaver.
Absolutely.
So,
I've seen it.
I'm very pro tourniquets.
If there's enough artery there to get pinched off, but sometimes
you can't get to it.
Can't get to it.
So suck it up, buttercup, and tighten down.
Yeah, but So tourniquets.
So you had an extended stay in Germany.
I had an extended stay in Germany.
Did you enjoy the German beer?
I couldn't drink beer.
Was that a personal choice?
No. It was what was that? The general order number.
Oh, bloody hell!
No, I didn't drink in transit to overseas.
But you were coming back.
I was coming back. I wasn't considered. My leave time didn't start until my orders were stamped and I got into Atlanta, Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh dear!
I saw Eve there, by the way. She turned her nose up at me.
The singer?
If you're out there, Eve, I saw you, girl.
I think she listens. If she doesn't, we'll tag her on this show. And
right.
She might be listening now.
Yeah. I said hi. And then I was like, damn, I think that was Eve. She didn't say a damn word to me.
Were you in uniform?
I was in filthy uniform.
Well,
I might have had some blood on me.
like
I might have had some blood stains.
Smelling probably not too great.
Like a man.
Yeah.
It was manly. It was a manly musk
Hum.
of dirt and.
So when did you get out?
I got out in 2014, late 2014. I didn't want to get out, but I was medically retired.
Yeah.
And but I came home for 2 weeks and then had to turn right back around like the day after New Year's and then go back. And you know what? It wasn't. I was praying for, like, I hope the plane breaks down. I hope
You wanted to,
because I was thinking, well, maybe when I get to Shannon, maybe when I get to Shannon, Ireland, there's just something will happen. Like we'll just get into a big group of birds or something like that. I mean, I'm willing to take that risk.
For Guinness,
but even for just like in Germany, they was there for sale, but you couldn't buy it. I never understood that. Like I'm surprised that not as many. I mean, I don't know. I'd never heard of it, but like more people didn't lose their shit because they've been they're coming and going. There's a drink machine with beer in it, but and they just want a cold beer. It would have been, and it's right there, but you can't have it.
Oh dear, that's too much of a temptation. You see, I'm a bit of a rule breaker, so when I was told not to do something, invariably I did it.
So that was 2 months in, and then so I came back. So that bought me a little time, but coming back was it was 2 days, and I was right back and running missions again, and that was 12 months straight, and it was long.
Yeah, that's a long 12 months.
12 months.
So you were up in the mountains. Was that up in eastern Afghanistan?
It was the Kunar province. Yeah, okay. It was basically like it was southeast, right there on the Pakistani border.
That's near the Tora Bora, isn't it?
If I'm not mistaken, Tora Bora was up north. I was near. Jalalabad was.
That's a base that my brother used quite a bit.
Right.
He was in eastern Afghanistan somewhere.
Yeah. Jalalabad was like, we would go there. It was 40 miles away, maybe west of us. 40 miles as a crow flies, but it'd take, it would all day and into the night to get there. If you didn't, like sometimes we would helo in and to get supplies, like somebody would have to go make a run to J-Bad. Oh. But if you convoyed in, you're there, and it's gonna happen. I mean, it's all day on Afghan twisty, windy country back roads.
Someone's gonna.
That's if you don't hit IEDs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. They're gonna hit you with something. I mean, whether it's a firecracker or
it's not a free ride.
No, you're gonna pay a toll, and if you're lucky, it just. Kind of blows off the side, and your guys shoot back, and they kind of run back behind the hill. Yeah, if it works once, it always works again. That's a big motto over there. I think they live by. We hit them right there. My tubes dialed in, walk them in. Whatever.
Yeah.
Or just scare them a little bit. Take them. You see what they do. Probe them. Yeah.
So how did you when you came back? Mm-hmm. How was that experience trying to transition, or was there any?
It was rough. Looking back at it, I mean, I didn't realize it at the time though.
Now this is when you were dealing with any injuries, or you came back in one piece, but just had trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I was all healed up and everything, but it was still, it was more of a reintegration type thing. That's what it was. It wasn't, at the time, I didn't think that what I had went through over there was any, like, I mean, I knew it was something, but I don't know. But no, it was more of definitely how I handled things inside and in my mind, and I'm thinking that everything's all right, but it wasn't. It took it took a long time for me to see that.
Oh, so you're not aware of it, and so maybe some of your behaviour was
very apparent,
considered a little bit
very apparent, very concerning.
Right. So having got through that, what help do you think benefited you the most from pulling you through those dark periods in that rehabilitation and readjustment back into civvy life?
Well, I mean, definitely, fly fishing found me. That's definitely,
very cool.
I was about 20 beers into a whole case. And I was going to drink the case of beer, and
fair enough.
But my daughter called me. I hadn't talked to her. She's a teenager at the time. I hadn't talked to her in several months. She's pissed at me, as she should have been. I own that. But I was dealing with, I didn't want her to, I didn't want her to see, she'd seen enough, me being gone, and her life had been, just kind of uprooted, and as it is for, a lot of things don't work out. That's fine. But then, I was just in a rough shape, and she called, told me she loved me, and she wanted to see me. So I put everything down, called a friend, and took me to the VA. And when I was there, they kind of reluctantly introduced me to Bob Crawshaw, who was at the time, he was the regional director of Project Healing Waters, which is a veteran. I was
going to say, I know that name from somewhere.
Bob Crawshaw, yeah. God bless him. He saved my life.
Right on.
I owe him way more than I could ever repay him. I never imagined that, when I heard, "Hi, I'm Bob," I never imagined the shaking that hand was going to open up the doors that it has so far.
So that opportunity, that really led you down into...
Well, I didn't know it at the time. Like, I knew that, growing up around here in Franklin County, that I grew up my grandparents had a cattle farm, we had farm and land, and I thought that's what everybody did. Right. I didn't know that it was, and then when the nurses and everything asked me there at the VA, well, what do you like to do? And I like to do stuff outside, I thought fly fishing, I never gave it a second thought. I thought it was way out of my toolbox. I thought it was something that
it's the most peaceful thing I've ever done.
I mean, not even that far. Like, I thought it was so out of reach for me, because it was just, I thought that only rich people did that. Not people, wealthy people, they go for the hatch once a year, and that's what they do. And they summer places and they winter and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's definitely nothing like that out there, if you're listening.
Full country club membership.
Right.
I get you.
Right. And so they took me Bob took me one morning, once I heard you like to fish. I said, well, yeah, I love to fish. And I'm like, fine. I was like, I didn't know who Bob was. I thought he was another doctor coming in to say, well, how is these 25 prescription drugs that we've got you on? How are they helping you out? How are they doing for you?
Yeah, probably not too good, right?
No, not very well at all. That's like we said, that's for a later time. And so I said, I'm doing good. And he said, well, I heard you like to fish. Is that, you like to fish? I said, I love to fish. Finally somebody's talking to me about something I like to do,
Yeah.
I lived down in Florida for a little while when that's where my daughter was born, down South Florida. So I'd fish in the canals. And there's some big bass down there, and that was all on conventional rods. And it was just, I loved it. I did it all the time. That was right. That was my break. And, So they took me up to a private spring-fed pond up on Bent Mountain, and this guy had put some baby rainbow trout in there just to see, and they ended up carrying over, living, and then it's like 3 generations now.
Right on.
I mean, and they are tanks. I mean, they're submarines basically.
Beautiful.
And that's what they got me on. My first netted fish on a fly rod was out of that pond. It was 24 inches.
Good Lord.
24-inch rainbow trout.
That's a beast.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
What did it weigh? I mean, that's a monster. 24 inches.
I mean, I every bit of 10 pounds, I'd say.
Yeah.
Every bit. I mean, fat. There's bugs hatching off that morning. I mean, it was beautiful.
Oh, insane.
But they knew what they were doing. That was it. Because I said, well,
the cliche hook, line, and sinker pretty much applies.
No sinker. No sinker.
No sinker.
But hook and line, definitely. And I was hooked. I was hooked from that point on. How can I do that again? I was chasing.
Yeah.
I was chasing it. I was chasing that high. I'm still chasing that high.
Oh, there's nothing like it.
Nothing.
I mean, I've done bill fishing.
Nothing
and I've
like
done
it.
bill fish tournaments where you're catching the blue marlins, the white marlin, whatever.
It never gets old.
And that rush when that line peels off.
Oh,
here we go. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Man versus beast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
that's the epitome of it.
It's just
man versus nature, man versus beast. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is something really, something really cool that not a lot of people do. Not a lot of people do it, and something that I'm passionate about. And I mean, eventually I figured out, well, I'm kind of good at it. I'm kind of decent, and I've been all over out west, and
nice.
It's the people that I've met and the experiences that I've had. I mean, I tell everybody just try it.
If
you like to fish and if you like to fish,
bonefish
on a fly rod is
it's insane.
Game over.
Yeah, it's insane. And they catch some crazy stuff on fly rods. I mean, I was into the deep sea.
Well, and I've seen them do that too. Anything you can theoretically. Anything that you can catch on a hook, you can catch on a fly rod.
Catch on a fly rod.
You might need some sinking line and some pretty heavy duty tippet and whatnot. But you can rip a streamer through a school of bluefish if you're out there or whatever. You can rip it through, and hopefully you don't snag one. But because that's unsportsmanlike. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you can do that. But I mean, mainly what it was designed to do was current.
Right. Now there's a small group in here up in Callaway, funnily enough, that supports. I know them very well. They support the Wounded Warrior Project.
Okay.
And they bring up guys from. It seems that most of them. Actually, that's a lie. The guys that I've met, a lot of them have come up from Florida. And in various conditions. I mean, some of the guys have got no legs. There's missing all sorts of, but they're getting on with life.
Well, as it goes on,
which is great.
Right.
And they take them out hunting.
Good.
And there's various methods in how they can do that.
Right.
But the deer hunting and turkey hunting around here can be great.
Yes.
And there's a cabin up here,
especially if you're from Florida.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Certain parts.
And there's, they've got a hunting lodge and cabin up here fairly close to us where we live.
Nice.
And I get to meet some of these guys. And I know the two guys that run it, and they're just superb.
Yeah.
Dedicated.
Yeah.
Looking after the Wounded Warriors. We don't necessarily like where all the money from Wounded Warriors goes. But
it gets to a certain point where it just gets too big.
Yeah, and I think at that point it may have got a bit too big at one point in time. But
hold the reins back a little bit, readjust.
The intent of the guys that run these hunts, and they take them up to upper state New York as well on occasion.
Well, they're in partnership with
in partnership
it's not
with
them,
women.
but they're in partnership with.
Yeah.
The same thing with I'm not with Healing Waters, and then there's also another organization out there that last year they just flew me out to the Sacramento River in northern.
It sounds like a very similar arrangement to what you have with fly fishing,
right?
These guys have with whitetail and
I mean, if I got offered to go on a hunt or something like that, I would definitely. I did that predator hunt up in Radford a couple months ago.
Nice.
Yeah, that was intense, man. They're everywhere.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So yeah.
And these outdoor activities, I think, for the guys that are coming back, whether they have some of these horrendous issues and missing limbs and whatever their condition may be, even the PTSD, which I don't think too many people grasp the seriousness of what PTSD does to you.
Yeah, I
think it's.
I mean, we all have traumas.
Exactly.
We all have some sort of PTSD.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be from
combat,
from a military combat situation.
Right.
So there's certain people, that get PTSD from their workplace.
Oh, or
it could be anything, any trauma.
Accident or,
Oh yeah.
So to be able to but I think we're slowly beginning to recognise
it takes a toll.
That there is a toll. There's a price to pay. There's a recuperation, and I think I hope that we're embracing.
There is hope.
Yeah, we're embracing the hope. And I'm in support of all of these initiatives that give these folks, with whatever condition they have, they're giving them a second shot. And I think that's
opportunity.
Great. It's and
opportunity, and I think that's very important because I also am a huge advocate, and it gave me something to focus on. All my negative shit, everything that I was dealing with personally at that point, that my whole world's crumbling apart. I've got to start from the bottom again. But it gave me something to put that.
It got you out of that hole.
Yeah, it did.
It got you out of the hole.
It gave me something that I wasn't. I was going to get frustrated. I knew that, but I was stubborn enough and hard-headed enough to not let it. This thing's going to beat me. No way. I don't care. I'm stubborn enough to when I set my mind to something, I'm not going to let it stop me. Anything. No, I don't care what it costs. If it's supposed to cost $20, but it costs $2,000 to do it at a certain point, I'm going to pay $2,000 to get it done. Just because it's not going to beat me,
Right on. I mean, and that's a great attitude to have about overcoming adversity.
Absolutely.
Just don't let it beat you.
Don't quit.
Well, that's a famous Winston Churchillism.
Don't stop.
Never, never, never quit.
Don't quit.
What was it about fly fishing that just?
It was something that I could, I saw it as.
Probably a challenge in the sky.
Absolutely a challenge. Absolutely. I think that's what the biggest thing was because I wanted to figure it out.
It's not easy.
Definitely not easy.
No. It's just something you don't just pick up and off you go. I mean,
it's best to get a guide.
It's practice,
get
guides.
Someone, pay somebody. If I could do it over again, I might have done that. But I'm, I am a guide, so I can do that. But I'm very fortunate. But yeah, it was a challenge. It was like I said, not a lot of people did it. So it gave me a chance to kind of get. I think more when there's too many people doing it. I think it just kind of waters everything down, and it makes the talent in the pool go down the drain.
It dilutes it.
It dilutes it so much that it gets harder to really, if you're really passionate about it, to get a chance for other people to see how passionate you are about it. I've seen that with music a whole lot.
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
I've seen that with music
Yeah.
a whole lot.
I think there's, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think fly fishing is an incredibly elegant sport.
Yes.
The finesse and skill
Yes.
to be able to drop that fly
Yes.
exactly where you can see that trout heading upstream,
Exactly.
and then drift it down onto it.
Yep. Good timing.
And but the elegance in it, there's something special about the elegance of fly fishing.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of different ways. I mean, it's just depending on that time, that minute, that hour, that second, that minute, that hour, that day, that moon phase, where you're at, and it could change right now. The conditions are completely different.
Mm-hmm. I miss fly fishing.
Fly fishing it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is.
It is a beautiful thing.
It is.
It seems like one of those things that would be really good, like out west in Montana and things like
that. I'm not gonna lie, it is.
Where you've got the rivers running through the fields and the mountains behind you and stuff like that. Like around here, the rivers are they're different. Around here, the rivers run through mountains.
You gotta go a bit higher up.
But that's also a good thing too. I mean, there's not as many wild streams and rivers around here because of the lay of the land. You know what I mean? I mean, it's cold, but a lot of the rivers out there in Montana, like you're talking about, there a lot of them are dammed up. They did all that to tame those rivers because they were just, I mean, if we're gonna, wide open. I mean, wide open, in spring thaw. Yeah. I mean, and then a drop. Yeah. During the wintertime, because I mean, it's just they could control it a lot more. They could tame the rivers, and what they did was they made those conditions like that. Like I know the Bighorn River in Montana, which is my favorite of all, of all the ones I've been to.
That's got the name as well, isn't it?
It's the Bighorn. It's right off of Fort Smith. Montana
that has the name. I'd love
Custer.
To fish
Custer was only right down the road a piece. The Battle of Little Bighorn. That's what
I just read a book fairly recently, and I forget the name of it. And it was all about Custer and several of the characters that were involved in that engagement.
Yeah. It was sheer arrogance cost them dearly.
Absolutely, it did.
So they dam them up, and I mean, it's kind of it's there. So the tailwater of the Bighorn is I mean, 5 years ago it was considered dead water. It was dead. No hope for it. But they brought it back, and it's for quality and quantity. Quality and quantity.
Now, how did they do that? I mean,
they had some really, really good, smart guys and gals come in, and
what killed it?
Overfishing.
There you go.
Not getting the dams regulated, getting the water out. There was some instances of some, if I'm not mistaken, there was some fish kills. There was some bacteria and viruses in the pescatarian viruses, I guess you would say. It killed a big fish kill, and just overfishing stress on the fish. I mean, people don't realize that wild populations of fish. Do you eat them? No. Release wild fish,
right?
Because if you take all of them out, they're not going to have any more.
Yeah, there is a finite. There's a finite population.
They're not out there eating dog food and biting each other's tails off. Have you ever seen a stock trout's tail? It's a nub.
Oh, it's been.
Well, they're in concrete tubs,
right?
In the holding tanks, and that's what they grow up in.
A little bit of cannibalism.
Well, no, they're not school fish.
Aggressive fishing.
They're just aggressive. They're with each other. They're not school fish. Like they don't run in schools. So if like one of them's in front of each other, eventually they start biting each other's tails because they want to get spread out.
Right.
And then the concrete wears them down till they're just
fascinating.
Yeah. And that genetically they're different. They're table fare. They're grown to grow big fast, and then gas out in 2 seconds. You know, you can drag them over the water.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It's fun to do, fun to catch, fun to learn, you know, hook sets. And
I've been rather partial for trout with a little bit of butter and lemon.
There you go.
For breakfast.
Well,
on an iron skillet. Oh, with English muffins. Oh, quite right.
Do you know where you can get fresh local trout to eat if you're interested in something like that and you don't want to go out and have to catch them?
Well, that would be Melvin's Farm to Fork.
You sure can.
And I've bought from there already, funnily enough.
What's this?
It's one of the stores that is running. They raise beef, but they're running a farm store.
Okay.
With local suppliers and produce. And one of their products,
meat.
Okay.
Gotcha. lot of beef. They have some pork.
Yeah.
Are their prices skyrocketed like the price of beef is now, or is it kind of market kind of?
They try and be comparable, really. To, I mean, it is a little bit more expensive, but then you've got quality,
right? And you don't eat it every day,
exactly.
Right.
So
I can't tell you. I had steak about 3 or 4 nights ago with my daughter for the first time in forever. I just don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing about it is, we also tell people too is go get a beef patty from a local farmer, local source, or down to Melvin's Farm to Fork. Get a patty from them. Throw it on the grill. Get a patty the same exact size from the beef you're getting at the store,
and check it
and see.
Do a comparison.
See what the difference
The one you get locally sourced is going to be the same exact size it was when you put it on there. The one you get from the store is going to shrink up and shrivel down into the size of about a slider.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Every
it's
time.
All water.
Every time. So, I mean, that's a good place you can go get trout. And I guess, you talk about healing waters or something. So you take out other veterans and stuff to go fly fishing?
I'm going, once COVID came in, healing waters shut down because, I guess a lot of the veterans have, are susceptible, their immune systems are compromised. I still wanted to go out because at that point I had went out to, I'd already went out to Montana for the first time. Well, I took a break for several years. And then when I started to get back into it in like 2018, 2019, that's when, I was in it for a little bit and then COVID hit, but I still wanted to get involved and to be taking guys out and just meeting. But they, understandably, they didn't know what was going on. They weren't like, we're not gonna approve of that, so we're not putting
Hopefully
it out there.
It's back on the up.
It is. And I'm actually going later next month. I'm going up to the Beaver Creek Invitational.
Oh, sweet.
And I haven't been fishing since July. I went out to Montana and to Bozeman, and I haven't been fishing since I went out to the Madison. So,
it's about time.
It's about time. But I think I'm going to get out and start hitting it a little bit more, and because right now is a good time. Stockers are not, now's a good time to get in the water and get back into your rhythms and getting into everything and get to that point. But, I highly recommend it. I think that, getting back to finding something that you can, I think a lot of people veterans are not. I think that a lot of people are,
they're on the treadmill. There's no passion there in what they're doing.
There's none.
And that to me is going to lead to societal problems.
Exactly, because you're not happy in life. You don't have a purpose. And it doesn't have to be like me, where you do it all the time. But
you've got to have something that you're passionate about.
You've got to have something you're passionate about, and have the opportunity to do it and the time to do it.
Yeah.
I think
you've got to make time.
Well, I think we get too overwhelmed with we spread ourselves too thin.
Way too thin. Yeah, we're guilty of that, all of us. Yeah. That when you spread yourself too thin, bad shit happens.
Yeah,
you become more vulnerable.
Yeah,
to a situation that is invariably going to be not good.
Right.
Well, I think it's even more difficult for veterans these days, and I consider myself pretty lucky. I've been able to manage it. A lot different than some. Everybody's got their own story. Everybody's got their own way of dealing with things. But, there definitely has to be an outlet there. But it gets really difficult because as a veteran, you're like, all right, I have been to the worst parts of the world where people are trying to kill you every single day. And the only thing that matters is seeing that sun come up the next morning. Nothing else matters. And then, you've been back home and you've dang near killed yourself and you don't have any thought about
Well, somebody else has actually damn near killed you. You didn't do it yourself.
In
some situations.
You
come home, you're getting on motorcycles and you're acting stupid. You're running 120.
Trying to get a thrill.
Like you feel, yeah, exactly. You're looking for that adrenaline rush. And eventually it goes away. And eventually you start trying more and more things to get that rush. And that might end up being substance. It might end up being, breaking the law, like crazy laws and stuff just to get that rush. And then even if you are winning that struggle, even if you're winning that battle, then you're looking around and there is nothing but crybabies everywhere you turn around that are making the most minuscule. They're turning so many
whining
mountains from molehills about just the most. And it's like, as bad as I had it in here, I'm trying to struggle and you're trying to compare yourself, to it's like you don't have it that bad here. So you're sitting there trying to rationalize shit that's still in your head and shit that, won't go away from your head. And you're trying to rationalize that with somebody here who's complaining that the avocados are not in the right section. Just something so ridiculously minuscule.
I had that problem too. Like I would come, I remember one time, I believe it was because I came home about 2 weeks. I didn't leave the house. And then I went to Sheetz. I remember going to Sheetz and, was getting gas. And just kind of looking around, and everybody's like moving really. I remember everybody was like moving really fast, like everything was happening really fast, And the line was really long, and I was at that point I was used to waiting in lines. You just stand in there and just look at the feet in front of you if you don't want to look around. And I remember hearing this lady. She had it was a black. It was the H2. It was a big it was a Hummer it was a Hummer, and it had the big silver grill on it. And I remember looking at that and thinking like she was yelling. I mean, she was like almost screaming at the attendant there who's working by herself, and the line's all the way around like to the beer cooler there. And
have some compassion.
And I was just like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, am I the only one that's hearing this? Am I the only one that's witnessing is seeing this right now and actually gives a shit? Because like this woman this person is demeaning this other. I mean, she's just trying to do her job the best she can. You could see she was getting she was turning red and
flustered.
That's
embarrassing. Why would you do that?
Well, I called her out on it, and
good man.
I'm
good man.
I mean, I didn't take it easy on her. I probably should have, but I didn't. And it wouldn't have mattered if, I know probably like, oh, it doesn't matter who it was. At that point, it was
There's
like,
no need for
I said,
people.
I was like, hey, do you not see the rest of us? You're holding us up and you're making her about to cry. Just, she'll fix the pump. All right. It's go back out to your first world problem.
You know what? If you were late, maybe get up 10 minutes earlier. This is not
give yourself a little bit of give yourself a little bit of contingency time.
Chill out.
All right, it's not a big deal.
Don't make somebody else's day a shit day.
Right, you don't know what she's going through. You know what I mean? Obviously, she was about to break down. But that was a big thing for me. Is like, what are you complaining about? Your phone?
Yeah,
your phone. Take somebody's phone from them.
And in the meantime,
See what happens.
Take somebody's phone from them and see what happens.
Yeah, like I said, in the meantime, you do have 22 veterans a day that end up committing suicide.
At least.
And those numbers aren't counted into the casualties of war. And it's smart and to surround yourself by people who are actually going to, put forth an effort. But it's hard. It really is. Find, if you're out there and you're struggling, find something, find anything.
Anything.
For me, I think this podcast is kind of a good outlet.
Absolutely.
Because, there's a lot of the issues I have with what we did over there was the fact that we were over there in the first place. And I got to live with the fact that we were part of a destructive force that brought no good. So what can I do here on the show? I can turn around and at least I can help be productive on this side of things. I can help build something, in a positive light.
Absolutely.
To try and at least reverse the karma just a little bit. I mean, I was young and dumb. I never signed up so I could go kill people. I signed up to pay for college.
Right.
Right.
But you shit starts to get real when bullets start flying, right? And it's kind of like, oh my God, well, this is for real. That this is like me.
It's a perpetual state of war,
Right.
and we've got to get out of that cycle, and we need to break it.
Well, it's not
Because
sterile.
we go from one to the other.
It's not sterile. This is, this is, these are things that you can't make it clean. It's war.
No, it's our ugly business.
It's either you get in and you do business or you don't go.
Yeah.
And I even openly try and de-recruit anybody that's planning on going to the military these days. And that's not because I don't want people there serving us.
Right.
I'm like, look, right now you're going into the service needs to suffocate a little bit right now because they're more focused on gender studies and all these little group sessions about feelings and things. Look, you're supposed to be preparing the warriors to go fight battles, not people who are going to get offended by pronouns. That's not the Army and the military has turned into a social experiment now. So I'll tell them, do not go in there and be a part of that social experiment because A, your time is going to be miserable and you're going to get ran into the ground for wanting to be a patriot, and
Nobody
B,
run you out.
you're probably getting sent to the slaughter because if those are the kind of people you want to go to war with, God bless you. Because I got out because of the the product I started seeing coming in, because at that time they just want bodies and they will literally take anybody that can breathe and sign their name correctly.
Well, how many
fodder.
how many guys now? I mean, are you looking? You're reaching the pinnacle when you've done your 20, right? You've got your full max pension. Everything is good.
You can bow out then.
If you can do that.
Right.
We've got guys bowing out and they've done 18 years. Right, they're bowing out because they can't tolerate the shit that's going on,
Or they're being
country
pushed out.
now. Or exactly, they are being squeezed out because they no longer fit that PC
Narrative.
profile and narrative that these shits are now pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is weakening our military. And guess what that does?
I mean, who wants a? I mean, that's asinine. Who wants a weak military? Your military should be the strongest.
Yeah.
I mean,
You want door kickers. You want savages that can do a job if required.
If required, but don't you either let them off the leash or you don't even give them a sniff.
Yeah, one of the two.
There's no.
Yeah. But
You either let them.
we should be here as a defense force anyway. We should be pulling back our troops, getting the hell away from all these bases and all these other countries.
Being back in our back home, and if anybody a force for if anybody tries to mess with us,
Send a carrier group.
Yes.
Right.
Send troops down to protect our southern border to keep
That's right.
it. And that's not just keeping people who are from Mexico from coming to this country.
That's
keeping
not it.
people
It's-
from all over the world, from China, from
everywhere.
Middle
Look
Eastern
at the
countries.
Chinese
Yes,
that
everywhere.
are pouring through that southern border now. And I forget the number attached to each one of them. But it
What's up with
is
that?
a phenomenal amount of money. And what are Chinese nationals doing coming through the Mexican border?
no good.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
is it
I'm no genius.
this is an economic war?
Oh, yeah,
So you don't want what are we calling these immigrants? That some of them are asylum seekers,
Political refugees.
or political refugees, but you don't
asylum.
you do not want economic refugees and asylum seekers on economic
Well, see, asylum
principles.
seekers are supposed to stop at the first welcoming country they come to, and a lot of these asylum
That's right.
seekers
They just push them
are,
through.
are from Latin America and Central America, and they're supposed to stop in Mexico. That's where they're supposed to seek asylum at. It's the first country they come to, and they're pushing us back up here.
Well, I've always said the border was built on the wrong border. It should have been built on the southern Mexican border. But, that's just me being an arrogant prick.
I mean, this country should not want for nothing. We've got all the resources we need for energy. We've got all the resources we need for food.
That's right.
And if there's anything we do need, we can make decent trade agreements with some of these countries. But our manufacturing should be here. We should be self-sufficient as we possibly can. And
Well, corporate greed buggered that up because then they put everything manufacturing outside of the US. As soon as they did that, and I hold, Walmart really as one of the biggest proponents of that principle to get cheap labor that would allow the margin that comes off the shelf to go to the corporate greed bastards, and milk that, and that did us the greatest disfavor.
Well, let me ask you this: if you and I don't know, but this is just throwing this out there. If you were to ask your average citizen walking up the block here, Name 2 laws that Congress passed the Senate, and then the Senate, everything went through. New laws, either for the House of Delegates here in Virginia or national federal laws. Name 2. Do you think they could?
Probably not.
In the past 5 years.
That would open that window a little further.
Okay.
But I would say probably not.
Let's say the last 2 sessions. The last 2
Last 2
sessions.
sessions. People don't follow it. They don't
2
give a
sessions.
shit. The general public has now, and this is deliberate, has been disengaged through apathy.
They've been disassociated from it.
Yeah, and the apathy is not the fault of the citizen. That's by design.
That's by design by the leader.
Absolutely, of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when we can say,
that's scary.
if you didn't vote, then, you've got the problem. Well, no, the apathy goes way before that. And then to try and blame the individual citizen because he didn't vote is a little bit asinine.
Well, I mean,
that's a tough one.
Right.
I mean, we can go around in circles on this for a long time.
Rabbit hole in that one.
Yeah, exactly. We're in.
Yeah.
We're not just circling. We just dove head first.
Yeah, but it definitely is like it's so complex. It's so complex because I'm just now getting out of my shell, and I mean it's been years, and I'm just now getting to the point where I'm going out a little bit. I'm not
good.
Yeah.
Good. That's
definitely.
a great recovery.
Definitely.
I mean, unfortunately, it took too long.
It took a long time.
It
took a long time.
Wow.
But it is possible. And,
of course, everything's possible.
I still have my ways about me and my days and
we don't all have good days.
Well, I mean, I try to. I mean, I look at it as, I've tried to get all the negativity as I can out of my life as I can, as much. Stay away from it. That's why I don't watch TV. Probably spend a little too much time on the internet, but that's, I'm not looking at news or anything like that. I'm looking up just
but that's
whatever.
a choice issue.
Right.
I mean, when you've got the TV blaring on, that's not your choice.
Right.
I mean, you can turn it off.
Right. I listen to music.
The content.
I'm doing. Yeah. I'm playing music. I'm doing something. I'm not focusing on just sitting there wasting time.
Looking at the garbage that's being thrown at you with mainstream media
from
and
whoever
that propaganda bullshit.
Right. It's their
Screw
point
that.
of view, and
it's an opinion.
Yeah.
It's not news. It's an opinion.
And none of it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it's just whatever, I think that people need something to focus on, escape from, and get into, and whether that's rock climbing, hang gliding, raising
get
sheep,
outside,
lambs,
get your hands dirty,
get your hands dirty back into the earth, do something. That's
I'm
why
glad you're on the mend and
I'm doing
you're
well.
getting back out. That's bloody great. That's
doing
a success story.
I'm not
from
gonna
the
let
brink of disaster.
Complete collapse. Yep.
Good.
Yep. And it opened up so many more doors.
And we can all take a leaf out of that book.
I hope so.
And if this message is that one thing that you get out of it, go out and do something.
Have a little faith in yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah. Don't get too introverted. Don't
cut yourself some slack.
Yeah. Go out there. Go and get it done. I am delighted to hear that you're
doing well.
You're doing well. That's
doing better every day.
That's a good story. We like good stories.
Doing better every day.
Great.
I'm ready to help the next one. So I'm ready
passing it on.
I'm passing on to that next James out
good man.
there. You know what I mean?
Good man.
That could be a good lesson for us and a good place to stop. Just, find something that you like and reach out to another veteran because if you're going through it, I guarantee you somebody else is going through it. And you never know what little pieces of advice and help you might get along the way. And it might not all be that aha moment, but eventually all the pieces will come together and you'll have that aha moment. And, we're still fighting and we're still figuring out ways to make it right. And you know what? That's all right. You're going to stumble, you're going to fall, but just pick yourself back up because live your life and enjoy it. You've dealt with enough.
Absolutely.
You know, find a way. And I'm sure, look, if you ever want to go fly fish or whatever, just reach us out on the podcast and we'll get a hold of James
Absolutely.
for you here.
Love to.
And we'll put you together, you know, and for that matter, any other veteran that's struggling for whatever reason it may be, just
reach out.
Shoot me a message on the show. We'll figure something out. We'll figure out a way to put you in the right direction.
We got you.
You know, because
Don't be alone.
Hey, look,
Never alone.
Do not be alone.
There is a reason. And I firmly believe this, and this is not going to spiral us off anything else. It's a topic for another show. But I firmly believe that there is a reason why that the veterans come home and get treated so disastrously by the system. And that's because they are one of the biggest groups of individuals out there who have seen how shitty that system is. And if they are still around in peak top condition and peak top shape and peak top mental shape, then they're a threat. And we've had multiple, you know, members of Congress and CIA members and things like this say this very much, that veterans are one of the, you know, it's written down, they're one of the biggest threats to basically the empire, because we know what you're capable of.
Trained.
We're trained.
Well trained.
Yes.
And, you know, to be viewed now, and I've heard it several times, too many times I'd care to mention, how dare you call a veteran a potential domestic terrorist?
Oh, all day, every day.
No, I would say not unless you're trying to.
Unless you want to rile that one up.
I mean, what are you doing? That you know?
It wouldn't be the first time.
I'm appalled by that, but let's end on a positive note. James is out of the hole.
Yeah, man.
And it's taken a while.
It could be, and tomorrow everything could change. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful today. And but I'm not.
Let's hope tomorrow is better. And you are able to say that every day.
Absolutely. Every day. That's what I pray for.
Right on, brother.
Right on. Nice meeting you guys. I hope maybe I can come back again.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you back.
I'd love to. It's been great.
We should try and find a way up to go fly fish. I've never been before, so maybe y'all
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Take me or something. We can sit there and document and talk about it and see what I can. Yeah, because I love fishing. I love river fishing.
I can cut you like years of it. You know, just by because I've been through it, and you know.
There's tricks. None of them are shortcuts.
Not shortcuts,
but there are tricks.
I mean, I could show you a couple of different two things to work on that day that probably get you on some fish.
There you go.
And then I'll be your net man. So I'll be your guides.
Well, I'll tell you what, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Because number one,
absolutely, I'd love to.
It supports you.
Hey.
And number two, we'll have a blast.
It'll be great. It'll be great.
We'll bring some beer.
Yeah.
Bring Amos, a couple of them boys, and we'll just go up there and drink until we can't stand.
Not in the river, guys. I know how the record.
Well, I thought we were going to a pond somewhere in Callaway.
No. We're going to moving water, and it's kind of like it doesn't really discriminate.
Okay, so we'll just drink half that amount then, and we'll still be half standing. Gotcha.
Okay.
So for everybody out there, we appreciate your time, your effort. If you want to support us, once again, patreon.com/getontap, just $3 a month. You get rant fests, you get shows early, you get first opportunity at some of the live events and things we got coming up here in the future, and merchandise when this all starts taking off. We're doing some good things. We got some sponsors. They're starting to reach out to us and talk to us about bigger sponsorships, bigger deals. That's going to help us go a long way into maybe getting some merchandise and throwing it around. Look, y'all know what we're all about here. We just give it to you straight and we let you make up your own mind. But patreon.com/getontap or at WB Riddle on PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App, or Get On Tap. So you can do a one-time donation there, and we're taking it, we're putting it right back into whatever it is we're doing here, Simon. I don't whatever you call it we're doing this week. I don't know, but
I've got no idea.
Whatever we're doing, it's a good thing.
It changes from 1 week to the other. We're going to wing it. It's a good thing.
We're supporting people and we're promoting people, and we want more and more people supporting local. And that's not just our local; that's your local.
We want our community to expand, and it needs to expand exponentially. And
Absolutely.
I love it.
It's the goodness, spread
the
goodness.
That, and we hate the negative shit that sometimes we have to
people
cover.
Thrive on it, man. It's
and
just,
it doesn't do us any good.
It'll make you sick.
Exactly, it doesn't do us any good.
Yeah, but
so these sort of shows where we come up with such a positive finish, I'm all over it. This is how it should be.
Absolutely. So, James, Simon, everybody else out there, we'll catch you next time.
Peace out.
Think for yourself.